Welcome into Bengals Breakdown. I'm your host, Stone Shields. Thanks so much for hanging out with us here this afternoon. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be looking at some winners and losers for the Cincinnati Bengals in free agency here to this point. Obviously, things are winding down. This is more of a big picture thing, right? We're not looking at the individual contracts here. We're just kind of talking about players, guys that were brought in, guys that were re-signed, whatever the case may be, and kind of providing feedback on that. Ultimately, will Cincinnati opt to add anyone else? Obviously, Lucas Patrick was added relatively recently. There's still some guys out there that could help and contribute to your football team. We'll see if Cincinnati is done or if ultimately they decide to bring someone else in. Now, if you want the Bengals to make another signing, which I still think is a possibility, make sure you like today's video for me right now, going for over 550 likes here on today's show. So if you want the Bengals to make another signing, like today's video for me right now. Let's get to the winners here. This is obvious. You got to start out here with the wide receivers. Jamar Chase wasn't technically a free agent, but T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, getting those guys back, getting those guys locked in with your football team for the years to come was absolutely massive, and I am over the moon that Cincinnati was able to get them done and get them locked down. As I've talked about here on Bengals Breakdown, when you have T. Higgins, when you have Jamar Chase, you are a Super Bowl contender when you are out there with Joe Burrow. Obviously, healthy, you're able to do that. If you stay healthy, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow. And really happy that Cincinnati was able to get it done. A lot of naysayers out there didn't think that Cincinnati ultimately was able to reach deals with these guys, but that is not what transpired. Cincinnati gets it done with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and that, to me, is the biggest possible winner you could have. Over the moon that they were able to get it accomplished. What is your confidence level in the Bengals wide receiver room? Let me know in the comment section. Scale it for me, 1 to 10, 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. It is the pinned comment of today's video. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, that's fine. Take advantage of it. Get down in the comments. Let us know what you think. Mike Gesicki, next up here as a free agency winner for the Cincinnati Bengals. I didn't know if they were going to be able to keep both receivers and Gesicki, but shoot, they made it happen. And Gesicki kind of was like a Swiss Army knife for you on your offense this past year in 2024. He just makes you so hard to handle, especially when he's out there with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Is he a tight end? Yeah, technically, but not really, right? He's kind of a big slot, able to go out there. He's great in the red zone. He's a tough guy. He's a big frame. When you got these nickels matched up with Mike Gesicki, they just can't handle it. And Gesicki does a great job making himself available to Joe Burrow, and he seems to have created a great rapport with Burrow as well. That, to me, pretty obvious. The receivers, Mike Gesicki, top-of-the-line winners for this football team. Super stoked to have them back in 2025. Another winner for me is TJ Slaton, who, of course, the Bengals brought in free agency. He's going to play nose tackle for you for the Cincinnati Bengals, and he's going to be a heck of a lot better than Sheldon Rankins was, in my opinion. TJ Slaton is a massive, massive human being. You also have to keep in mind there is that relationship with Jerry Montgomery, who, of course, is the Bengals' new defensive line coach. It's not Marion Hobby anymore, and there is a relationship between T.J. Slaton and Jerry Montgomery, of course, dating back to when Montgomery was in Green Bay. The numbers don't pop off the screen at you, but I'm really confident that T.J. Slaton's going to be able to come in, make an impact for this team immediately, and really be a significant upgrade from Sheldon Rankins and provide that veteran presence in the room. Chris Jenkins Jr. and McKinley Jackson really intrigued with what I saw in their rookie years, but needed a veteran to come in there, hold things down next to B.J. Hill. I'm fired up for T.J. Slaton. He's a winner in my book. Oren Burks with an asterisk by it. Why is the asterisk there? He can't be starting for me. He's not a guy that I want to be Logan Wilson's running mate. I'm not just sure he has that. If you want to fill in for Akeem Davis-Gaither, take over that role, yeah, absolutely. But obviously, Oren Burks is a guy that's bounced around. He's been a bit of a journeyman throughout the past couple of years, but most recently won a Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles and really played great for them along that playoff stretch. Cincinnati liked what they saw from Burks in those big games. They obviously are hoping that they're playing in big games themselves. I like Burks on my football team, but if he's out there as the every down guy next to Logan Wilson, I have my questions there. I still would love to get a guy like Jahad Campbell in the draft, or perhaps, a different linebacker later on in the draft. Still looking for that linebacker too. I don't think it's Burks, but I do like the signing, and it was a good price for Cincinnati as well. Last winner here, Cam Sample. Kind of was a no-brainer, right? Bring him back on a one-year deal. Had the serious injury that caused him to miss the entirety of the 2024 season. I think the defense looks totally different if Cam Sample is out there and he does not get hurt. Unfortunately, that is not what transpired. But I'm a big Cam Sample guy. Getting him back on a one-year deal, if he can get back to where he was before he got hurt, I think that could spell really, really good things for Al Golden and this Bengals defense. We'll continue with our free agency winners and losers here in a second, but do want to give a shout out to our friends over at PrizePicks because they are the sponsor of today's show. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. The app is easy to use. To create a lineup, all you have to do is pick more or less on a few player stats for your shot to win up to 1,000 times your money. They also get the power play option here on PrizePicks. This is what we're rolling with here in college basketball, going with the more than on Cooper Flag points. Then going with the less than on Mark Sears points as well. To be honest, I didn't craft this one up myself. The less than on Sears, I'm not loving it, but that's what we're rolling with here at our Chat Sports offices. They also offer the Flex Play. This isn't the Flex Play, but the Flex Play option offers you to miss one of your picks and still have a chance to double your money. They also offer Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. So download the app today. Use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app. Use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's PrizePicks. Run your game. All right, we're going to go to the loser side here, and I got B.J. Hill here on this list. Look, I love B.J. Hill. I love what he has done for the Cincinnati Bengals, but I kind of was at a point where I was like, okay, it's time to kind of go our separate ways, and ultimately that's not what happened with B.J. Hill. The Bengals are bringing him back on a pretty sizable contract, and look, not to say that he was the reason why the Bengals were not good on defense last year. Not at all. I thought B.J. Hill was definitely good in spots for the Cincinnati Bengals football team, but to sign him to a long-term deal where he needs to really get back to the form that he was at a couple of years ago for it to be worthwhile, you definitely have some question marks there. And I just needed, my view was I needed to see a lot more new bodies defensively after the disaster season that they had. And unfortunately, it seems like Cincinnati's bringing back a lot of guys on defense, which I have an issue with. And I guess that's why B.J. Hill is getting marked as a loser here. Nothing against B.J. Hill. I love him. Love what he's done for Cincinnati. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully he balls out the next few years. But I thought it was kind of a questionable decision to bring him back. Name a Bengals free agency loser. Let me know in the comments of today's show, whether it be a re-signed guy or somebody from the outside that they brought in. Give me a name right now in the comments. Joseph Ossai, been pretty outspoken about this one. Bengals bringing back Ossai on a one-year deal. I was ready to watch Ossai walk as well. Kind of came on strong there at the end of this season, was able to record some sacks and disruption. Get after the quarterback a little bit. He's still young, plenty young, 25 or so years of age. Has a couple of sacks to his name there from the end of the year, so that obviously is intriguing. But Ossai, I didn't think got home enough. Give him a lot of credit for beating out Myles Murphy. It was, of course, first-round pick a couple of years ago. But Ossai, I think, needs to have a big year. I thought he would get more than what he got from Cincinnati. So, if it was a long-term kind of thing, that'd be one thing, but a prove it 1-year deal, not the end of the world with Ossai, but I still would have parted ways personally. This last one here, the lack of addressing needs. Obviously, this isn't a player, and do have to understand that Cincinnati was dealing with a lot with their receivers, what have you. But there's a lot of areas that you didn't address. Your DBs were not good last year. You haven't done anything as far as your DBs go, corner and safety. Offensive line, you're bringing in Lucas Patrick. You did that a few days ago, but you would have liked to gotten kind of a bigger name guard guy out of the way. So I thought there was a lot of positions that the Bengals did not pay attention to during free agency. Again, they were busy with other stuff, but I would have liked to see them address more needs across kind of their whole roster. Now, this last portion of today's show, going to be talking about guys that, are they winners or are they losers? I don't really know. They're kind of in that 50-50 spot. We got 8 guys here we're going to break down. Lucas Patrick, bringing him in from the New Orleans Saints. What's his role going to look like? Is he going to compete for a starting spot, or is he going to be backing up a guy like Cordell Volson or Cody Ford? I really don't know, to be completely honest with you. We'll see. I'm happy they just brought somebody in. That was a win, but we'll see if he can do anything productive for this football team. Samaje Perine, we all love Samaje Perine, right? I think we're all pretty stoked that he's coming back. I'm just hoping it doesn't turn into a Von Bell situation, right? Hopefully Samaje still has some juice where he can go out there and be productive. We're going to ask him, talking about the Cincinnati Bengals, to do a heck of a lot more than Kansas City was asking him, right? He's going to be their third down back. That, I think, is their ideal plan. We'll still see if he can still do that. Obviously, when you beat Kansas City, went to the Super Bowl, he's a big reason why you're able to make that happen. We'll see if he still possesses that same juice. Marco Wilson, kind of surprised here. He's cheap, right? I don't have an issue with the contract or anything like that, but is a guy that fills up your cornerback room. I was hoping to get a new body in there, and your room right now at this point is kind of full. Obviously, it's the offseason. You can continue to bring in more guys before you have to deal with your cuts leading into the regular season. But Marco Wilson, we'll see. He did some good stuff for you on third down, but ultimately didn't play a ton. We'll see what he does in 2025. Cody Ford, I was ready to walk on from him, but I'm not surprised Cincinnati kept him. A lot of people in the organization like Cody Ford. They love his flexibility. The fact that he can swing out to tackle when he needs to and also play guard for you along the offensive line. I think that versatility is why ultimately he comes back. We'll see. I don't want to see him as a starter. He's kind of a backup in my opinion. But we'll see what it looks like with Cody Ford next season. Tanner Hudson, Bengals opting not to bring in any outside tight ends. Tanner Hudson, I think, had some really strong moments at the end of the year. People pick on him for the fumble in Week 1 against New England. Obviously, that loss against New England, probably the reason you missed the playoffs, and everything kind of just snowballed from there. But Tanner Hudson, I don't have an issue bringing him back. We'll see, what kind of production he does. Tie Cam Grandy in here as well at that tight end spot. I think Grandy was a guy that spent a lot of time on the practice squad, but he over time earned the trust of Joe Burrow. I think Zach Taylor likes him a lot as well. He did some good things, apart from a couple of false starts in that Tennessee game. I think he did some really good stuff for you in 2024. Jackson Kirkland's a guy that made your roster going into last season, and then he suffered an injury that sidelined him for most of the season. I believe it was a triceps injury, something along those lines. So I'm happy to have him back. We'll see if he can kind of return to form. Don't view him as a starter in any sense of the term. But if he was available for you later in the year when some of those guys were getting hurt, I think he would have been able to play well. But obviously he himself was hurt as well. Lastly here, Ryan Rico. We will see. He's got a massive leg. There really is no question about that. But, Evan McPherson really struggling. And I think I put some of that blame on the holder as well. McPherson was just fine before Ryan Rico was his holder. So I have some questions there with Rico, but the Bengals are opting for him to stick around for the next couple of years. Obviously has a really massive leg. We will see if he can be a good holder for this football team as well.